All right, guys. Today we're gonna be reacting to James Bray, biggest lie America told me about Germany. This is gonna be interesting. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're heading to 10,000 subscribers, guys. Let's jump in.
Yikes. When I was real little, I kept hearing a rumor when it came to Germany that Germans are straight up just mean.
Hey.
Germans are rude.
Was?
That was a stigma that I had known
What
since
the
I was a
hell?
little kid. And this was in regards to people who had traveled to Germany, came back, and that was the perception of what they viewed the people of Germany to be. Now, I traveled to Germany myself last year 3 different times, and I had an entirely different experience. Were there some rude people? Yeah, but you get rude people in every country. For the most part, the people that I met in Germany were some of the nicest people I've ever met in any country I've ever been. So we're gonna be getting into a very interesting situation today. I'd like to show you guys. Basically here it says the stigma of Germans being mean or rude. But before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel and leave a comment down below. What are some other stigmas that people have put on Germany that are just straight up not true? So right here it says the stigma of Germans being rude. I'm on my 3rd trip to Germany and I have yet to encounter any strange situations which a native is cruel or rude to me. I'm not sure if it's just my personality, but everyone I've interacted with has been friendly and smiling. I'm from America and every time I visited, I've made a lot of new friends. I once drove on the wrong side of the road. I received no honks, only
What in the hell's going on here, man? What did you? What is going?
I once drove on the wrong side of the road. I received no honks, only laughing drivers flashing their lights at me to alert me. The closest thing I saw to rudeness was when a gas station clerk was closing his store and he ignored me when I inquired whether he was still open. That's just normal, and I completely understand. Overall, Germans appear to be very kind people, and I don't understand the stereotype. I understand partly where the stereotype comes from, and I think it has less to do with the people that live in Germany and more to do with the people that are visiting Germany that have no.
That's a good point. That's actually a good point. It might be only projection. Probably certain cultures, they're kind of different. I think it just comes down to that. Germans, they just have a way you just do things, and you might be offended by those things.
Idea how the culture operates. I think if you are an individual who gets easily offended and who thinks that the world owes you something in regards to people having to treat you like royalty everywhere you go, and you get to Germany and people just don't, they're not doing it because they're being rude or whatever. They're just doing it because they don't know who you are and they don't need to do that. They give you respect for sure, but they don't overdo it. There's not an overt fakeness like there is in the States and some other countries and stuff. In Germany, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It is what it is. You don't understand the stereotype because you haven't lived there. Vacation is always different. This is not to say that Germans are rude or unfriendly, but they're definitely out there, and yes, it's mainly the older 65 plus population. This can be said about almost any country though. I will say that the older the individuals in each country, the more mean and intolerable the individual is. I live in Korea currently, and the older people are pretty strict. They're very bitter, and that's more common than not. And it's mostly the men, not really the women, but it's mostly the men, the older men that are very like.
And here in the United States, the same thing, right? The older they get, the more irritating they are, so it makes sense.
More likely to be rude to you than anybody. Not to say all of them are like that, but you'll find that more in older men that are 65 years of age or older. And that's the same when it comes to people in America and other countries as well. For some reason, there's just like this very low tolerance that old people have, and I guess it's just like that. Now, I'm not saying every old person is like that, but you're more likely to see a higher percentage of people who are intolerant and people who are closed-minded in the older age brackets than the younger ones.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's easier to have a conversation with people who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s. The next comment, I'd say it's mainly the middle-aged and slightly younger ones who are rude and cynical. I regularly have wonderful conversations with elderly Germans, and so do my other foreigner friends. They're very open-minded and compassionate, love to talk and listen, and genuinely curious and wise. Of course, some are awful, but not more than the 30 and 60-year-olds in the office environment of big firms. Those are the worst, I think. 30 to 60-year-olds.
Man, that's I don't know, folks. That's a big range, don't y'all think? Dang, that's kind of big.
That's tough. Let's go ahead and look at another comment. I'm German and I've met a lot of rude Germans. Now, I will say this. I'm not saying Germans aren't mean and they can't come off as cold, but I think that if you have the culture in mind and you understand how the country works, there's less of a chance that you'll have a bad experience. I mentioned it in an earlier video, but if you have no idea of how the culture operates and you go to said country, you're going to be a little confused and you might get offended. So yes, there genuinely are a lot of people who can be pretty rude in Germany, but that was not my experience and that was not this individual's experience. When I got to Germany, I guess I'd say the environment where I experienced probably the rudest individual was in the grocery store. Frau Netto, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I was up there, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And she started yelling at me, okay? But I didn't care. I thought it was funny. I was laughing at myself. Everybody around me was laughing with me or at me, whatever the case may be. It was comedy. But that lady was also older as well. And I guess I was being incompetent. Now, a lot of other people would have probably wrote that off as a bad experience. They would probably be very intimidated to go back into a grocery.
I mean, people think that just going to a different country, that they should treat you like a damn princess. Man, you're going to other people's countries. Like, you have to understand, not everybody's gonna cater to your needs. You have to go to that country and you respect their lifestyle. Like, if I go to Japan, they might do stuff that I might feel like, this is kind of weird. I'm not used to it as an American. However, I have to understand that they already have a way of life. They already have a way for life, and that's what it is, and that's it.
Grocery store after that, but I didn't care. I went right back. I went back to the same grocery store and saw her again, and she was just sick of my damn shit. Okay, so it was a funny experience, but there's a lot of that happens. There's also people who will mean mug you or like stare at you real messed up, but it's not because they hate you. It's just people like to stare out there in Germany. But I've made that point. I think I beat that horse down to the ground, man. We all know, like, people just be staring out of curiosity, but then some people, man, like when they stare, they don't realize the angry look they have on their face. I will say this though, okay, Germany has a crazy amount of Karens out there, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. Number of Karens y'all got in Germany is abominable, bro. I was out there one time, I was filming, and I wasn't filming anybody specifically. I was filming the environment. I was filming the structures of the buildings, some monuments, and all of a sudden, this taxi driver that spawned out of thin air was getting on my case. He's like, do you have a permit? You need to have a permit to film here. You need to delete that footage. And I was like, can you say that closer to the camera, please? I didn't say that, but I was like,
that's such an American thing to do, man. It's that kick it to the man kind of thing, right? In Europe, things are very different. And I think a lot of Americans don't really understand that. They think that because here in the United States, you can literally film anything. They think that just going with that same mentality to Europe, that everybody's going to just simply just open their arms and say, yeah, do the same thing that you do in the United States. Like, it's not like that. No, it's different. It's different.
No, what the heck? Like, you walked into my shot. And the thing is, I didn't give a fuck if you walked into the shot, but it was ironic. Dude was yelling at me for recording
I remember that video.
Surroundings, and then he was mad when the camera was pointed at him. He walked into the camera. The camera was even pointed at him directly, and he walked up and got close up in it. And I'm like, y'all, you lucky I don't post this, bro. But I'm petty. I should have posted it. Another very good point that was made was this individual is on vacation. So living in Germany, I have watched a copious amount of videos from other individuals that have actually lived in Germany. And a lot of them, depending on where they live, they have different experiences is also what I've noticed. If they live in the southern portion of Germany, for sure, and sometimes even the eastern portion, I get way more perceptions that the people are a bit more cold. And then if it's up north, if it's the western side of Germany, northwestern side of Germany, up or just straight up north side of Germany, a lot of people love it. People have a good time. The biggest complaints I get though from people who I watch that live up north is that the weather is atrocious. It rains all the time, but I'm pretty sure it rains in Germany.
Rain and snow, my favorite weathers. Rain and snow, especially if it's raining in the mornings and at night. My favorite.
everywhere all the
it.
time, but definitely up north. I mean, Hamburg, oh my God, bro. This person says, come see a doctor here. Talk with the front desk and then we can talk again.
Oh, wow.
And then the comment underneath is, never a truer word spoken.
Uh-oh.
Yikes. This, I went to a postpartum check and the doctor asked, why am I here? What do I want? Damn. Okay. maybe people is rude out there. God damn. The next one says, thank God for these Americans on vacations telling us how it's like over here. Where would we be without them? Listen. I'm just going off of my perception. I know that obviously you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Even what I say, I mean, I'm only going off of my experience. The people were very nice that I met, but also I was, one, very aware of how the culture was. Two, I made an effort to kind of learn the language a tad bit. I'm not fluent at all, but enough to kind of get around and stuff. And three, there's other things that you can do to trigger people that live in other countries, specifically in Germany. I'll give you one example. I am loud. I'm incredibly loud. I was very aware of that traveling to Germany, so the first thing I did was I made sure I was always talking very, very quietly. I know I laugh, and when I do laugh, it is loud as hell, and people give me the craziest look. So I tried my hardest to keep my voice down to a minimum. And a lot of you guys noticed that in the vlogs, and I do appreciate that. But nonetheless, that was definitely a thing out there, and it was kind of a challenge for me, but I didn't have any backlash because of that. Also, getting in people's faces and things like that. Americans are very much like that, although we do ironically love our personal space, so I try to be as respectful as possible. But I will say, as far as the people goes, for the most part, and I don't say this lightly at all, some of the nicest people I've ever met. Next comment over here says, I say it's just who you meet. It's just like Germans going on vacation to the US and believing that they will see people carrying guns and see a shooting every day, when 99% of the tourists will never see guns or a shooting. However, if you have lived in America long enough and are in certain areas, you will see people with guns and shootings. Absolutely.
That's a good,
people who visit Chicago.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So, I grew up in Chicago, and we had so many exchange students come to Chicago. Did most of them see shootings? No. But did some of them see shootings? Absolutely. So this right here is gonna be the last comment we cover, and we'll end it there, man. I think often us being very direct with our opinions, etc., is perceived as rude by other cultures. Yes. This.
Look at the reply, man. People are crazy, man. Look at the reply. Oh, shut up. Man, Reddit is crazy, man.
This right here, this person needs a dunna, a dry oil dunna. So basically what it is, man, is directness for sure is definitely perceived as being rude. If someone asks you a question and they want you to be very overtly polite about your response, like, oh, does this t-shirt make me look ugly? And it's like, no, you're just ugly, you know? Like, it's not being mean. It's like, oh, okay, well, the t-shirt doesn't make you ugly, bro. Like, you gotta already have that. Basically what I'm saying is directness and stuff is something that a lot of countries, not just America, but a lot of countries aren't used to. So when they do get that type of exposure from a country like Germany or other countries in Europe, it is a little shocking. What are some other misconceptions or stigmas that Germany has that are not true? Let me know in the comments down below.
Hey, man, that was a good video. Hey, James, that was a good video. Very good. Very fair. I think it was a very fair take. Not only that, you gave a very first-hand experience. And I agree with you. Some of these folks, they need to chill out. And man, you go to Germany, they have their own way to do things. And you might be offended because they might be more straightforward. Because I don't think people are used to those kind of culture. They say they are, but they're not. They're not. But very good take. I do agree with him. Like, hey man, some of these places they are who they are. That's it. And if you're from the United States, you know what's crazy? Even here in the United States, in these areas where there's in the Midwest and other areas, Northeast, these people are straightforward. Maine, Vermont, these people are very straightforward. They're full of it sometimes. These people are full of themselves sometimes, but they're very straightforward. Iowa, Montana, South Dakota, they're good people, but they were straightforward as well. So it all depends where you go. But I think Germans, sometimes they have the right to just be mad at some of these people that don't understand their culture. If you go to Germany, make sure that you have an open mind, understanding where they're coming from. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in the next one.